The story of Xiaomi's SU7 electric car and Apple's abandoned Project Titan is more than a tale of two companies. It is a parable about globalization, industrial policy, corporate culture, and consumer psychology. Both firms began as consumer electronics giants, both saw cars as the next frontier, and both invested heavily in research and development. Yet only Xiaomi managed to bring a car to market, while Apple, after nearly a decade of effort and billions of dollars spent, canceled its project in 2024. To understand why Xiaomi succeeded while Apple failed, one must look beyond technology to the cultural, political, and economic forces that shaped their paths. Apple's car ambitions began around 2014, when reports surfaced that the company was hiring automotive engineers and exploring autonomous driving technology. The project, known internally as Titan, was shrouded in secrecy, but generated enormous speculation. Analysts imagined an iCar that would combine Apple's design prowess with cutting-edge electric and autonomous technology. For years, rumors swirled about partnerships with Hyundai, Kia, Porsche, and Toyota, but none materialized. Apple vacillated between building a fully autonomous vehicle, a luxury EV, or simply licensing its software to existing automakers. This indecision proved fatal. Without a clear vision, the project became a costly experiment rather than a focused product development effort. Engineers were shuffled between teams, prototypes were built and scrapped, and leadership changes created further instability. Apple's perfectionist culture, which had served it well in consumer electronics, became a liability in the messy world of automotive production. Xiaomi's entry into cars was more pragmatic. By 2021, the company faced slowing smartphone growth and intense competition from rivals like Huawei and Oppo. US sanctions limited its ability to expand globally, and it needed a new growth engine. The answer was electric vehicles. Unlike Apple, Xiaomi did not aim to reinvent the car from scratch. Instead, it sought to extend its ecosystem. Xiaomi already sold smartphones, TVS, scooters, and smart home devices, all connected through its MIUI software. A car was simply another node in this ecosystem. The SU7, launched in 2024, was designed not as a luxury statement, but as an affordable, practical EV that integrated seamlessly with Xiaomi's existing products. Consumers could control their home, phone, and car from one interface, creating a lifestyle brand rather than a standalone product. This ecosystem strategy was deeply embedded in Xiaomi's corporate DNA, which had always emphasized affordability and integration rather than exclusivity. Supply chains played a decisive role. Apple, headquartered in California, faced enormous challenges in securing manufacturing partners. Building cars is vastly more complex than building phones. It requires massive factories, thousands of suppliers, and decades of expertise. Apple explored partnerships with Hyundai and Kia, but negotiations broke down over control and branding. Automakers were reluctant to become contract manufacturers for Apple, fearing they would be reduced to the role Foxconn plays in iPhones. Without a partner, Apple would have had to build its own factories, a daunting prospect for a company with no automotive experience. The result was paralysis. Apple's reliance on secrecy also hindered collaboration. Automakers used to long-term partnerships and transparency found Apple's culture difficult to work with. Xiaomi, by contrast, operated in China, the global epicenter of electric vehicle production. China's EV supply chain is unparalleled, with battery giants like CATL and BYD, abundant manufacturing capacity, and government subsidies supporting adoption. Xiaomi could source components quickly and cheaply, and it could rely on local expertise to assemble cars at scale. The Chinese government, eager to promote EVs as part of its industrial strategy, provided regulatory support and incentives. In this environment, Xiaomi's decision to build a car was not only feasible, but strategically aligned with national priorities. Apple, operating in a fragmented and less supportive US environment, lacked these advantages. The contrast illustrates how industrial policy can shape corporate outcomes. China's deliberate investment in EV infrastructure created fertile ground for Xiaomi's success, while the US's more laissez-faire approach left Apple isolated. Corporate culture also mattered. Apple is known for perfectionism. Its products are meticulously designed, with every detail scrutinized. This culture works well for phones and laptops, where incremental improvements can be perfected before release. But cars are messy. They require compromises, partnerships, and tolerance for complexity. Apple's perfectionism led to endless delays. Engineers debated whether to prioritize autonomy or design, whether to build from scratch or partner, whether to aim for mass market or luxury. Each shift in strategy wasted years and billions of dollars. Xiaomi, by contrast, embraced pragmatism. It did not aim to build the most revolutionary car. It aimed to build a good car that people could afford. The SU7 was not a technological marvel, but it was reliable, attractive, and integrated into Xiaomi's ecosystem. Pragmatism beat perfectionism. Xiaomi's culture of fast iteration and good enough innovation proved far more suited to the automotive world than Apple's obsession with flawless design. Consumer expectations further explain the divergence. Apple's brand thrives on exclusivity. Its products are premium, aspirational, and priced accordingly. An Apple car would likely have cost far more than a Tesla, limiting its appeal. Moreover, Apple's customers expect revolutionary design. Anything less than a transformative vehicle would have disappointed. Xiaomi's brand, by contrast, is built on affordable innovation. Its customers expect good products at reasonable prices. The SU7 met those expectations perfectly. It was not revolutionary, but it was accessible and desirable. Consumers embraced it as part of their lifestyle, just as they had embraced Xiaomi's phones and scooters. Apple aimed too high and failed to deliver. Xiaomi aimed realistically and succeeded. The broader economic environment also played a role. China's EV market is booming, with government subsidies, infrastructure investment, and consumer enthusiasm driving adoption. By 2024, China accounted for more than half of global EV sales. Xiaomi entered a market primed for success. Apple, by contrast, faced a more challenging environment in the United States, where EV adoption was slower, infrastructure lagged, and political support was inconsistent. Tesla dominated the market, leaving little room for a newcomer. Apple would have had to compete directly with Tesla, a battle it was ill-prepared to fight. Xiaomi, entering a supportive and expanding market, had a much easier path. The political context was decisive. China's industrial policy explicitly supported EVs as a strategic sector, while the US lacked a coherent national strategy. The cultural context is equally important. In China, Xiaomi is seen as a people's brand, offering affordable innovation to the masses. Its fans are loyal, and its ecosystem is deeply embedded in everyday life. Launching a car was not seen as hubris, but as a natural extension of its mission. Apple, by contrast, is seen as a luxury brand. An Apple car would have been a status symbol, but cars are not like phones. They are mass-market products, and exclusivity can be a liability. Apple's cultural positioning made it difficult to imagine an affordable car, and its perfectionist culture made it impossible to compromise. Xiaomi's cultural positioning made success natural. Apple's made failure inevitable. Political context also mattered. China's industrial policy explicitly supports EVs as a strategic sector. The government provides subsidies, builds infrastructure, and encourages competition. Xiaomi's car project aligned perfectly with these priorities, ensuring support and success. Apple, by contrast, operated in a US environment where industrial policy is fragmented and inconsistent. EV subsidies exist, but they are contested politically. Infrastructure investment lags, and regulatory uncertainty abounds. Apple could not rely on government support in the same way Xiaomi could. The political environment favored Xiaomi and hindered Apple. This divergence reflects broader geopolitical realities. China sees EVs as a way to dominate future industries, while the US remains ambivalent. The implications of this contrast are profound. Xiaomi's success demonstrates that building a car is not just about technology. It is about supply chains, ecosystems, affordability, pragmatism, culture, and politics. Apple's failure shows that even the most powerful tech company cannot simply will a car into existence. Cars are different from phones. They require compromises, partnerships, and alignment with consumer expectations. Apple's perfectionism and indecision doomed its project. Xiaomi's pragmatism and ecosystem strategy ensured success. In the end, the story of Xiaomi and Apple in cars is a reminder that success in one domain does not guarantee success in another. Apple revolutionized phones, but it could not build a car. Xiaomi, less celebrated globally, managed to succeed because it understood its environment, its consumers, and its limitations. The SU7 may not be revolutionary, but it is real, and it is selling. Apple's iCar remains a dream that never materialized. The lesson is clear. In the messy world of cars, pragmatism beats perfectionism, supply chains matter, ecosystems drive adoption, and industrial policy shapes outcomes. Xiaomi soared, Apple stalled, and the EV wars crowned an unexpected winner. And that wraps up today's deep dive from the Situation Room. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your thoughts. Don't forget to follow us for more global analysis and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next Situation Room update. See you in the next one.